Can we back up to that meeting when you were first, talking to him, and then I'm sorry, I think it was in March or maybe it was in April that you decided to actually confront him, this intimidating man, with the facts that you did know at that point, and to tell him, you're famous, there's a cancer on the presidency, and to try
Right.
to convince him to be honest with the American people. How did you how did you find the courage to do that, and what was that like?
Well, he had, I had for many, many months. Well, first of all, I don't think anybody at the White House staff level wanted to get involved in criminal activity. And in fact, after I debriefed uh, Gordon Liddy 2 days after the arrests at the Watergate and learn about all these other activities that Liddy tells me about, I go to my superior, one of my superiors. I report to three people technically: Ehrlichman, my predecessor, Haldeman, the chief of staff, and of course the president, if he called on me. And those are the people to whom I reported. But I'm sort of a middle level staff guy. But anyway, after learning from Liddy what had happened and the tentacles that go back into the White House, I realized we're in deep trouble. And I went to Ehrlichman and I said, "Listen, John, I have no background in the criminal law. This is going to go right into that area, and we're foolish not to bring somebody over from the Department of Justice to advise us, from the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. or whatever, so we don't make any mistakes." And he just poo-pooed that so fast. He said, "No, no, no." He said, "We're not going to have any problems. You're not." And I will have an ongoing debate with my predecessor about what's going on and the mistakes we're making. But I don't literally pull the statute down. I get married in this period. I would have never married the woman I'm still married to
I
had
know.
I
Congratulations.
had I known the problems that were lay ahead.
Yeah.
Uh, I would have never put anyone through that. But it's not until after I'm married and and um, and get out the law books and let my uh, fingers do the walking in the law books and find that there's something called obstruction of justice. Nobody had ever heard of that crime unless they were a former federal prosecutor.
Mm.
Uh, Watergate put the crime of obstruction of justice on the map,
Yeah.
big time, because that's what we were doing. We were obstructing justice. But no, it's not really that say, "Oh, we're obstructing justice," till in November it's the best date I can get on it, of 72, find all these provisions in the code that looks like we have trouble. And there are tapes that are kind of fascinating where Ehrlichman will refer to the fact that White House counsel thinks we've broken the law, and he said, "And I know we haven't," kind of response. John Ehrlichman went to law school with Sandra Day O'Connor, who became a justice on the Supreme Court, with Bill Rehnquist, who became the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But he didn't go to this. I think Ehrlichman missed the classes on criminal law and what criminal intent is, because he will go through all the trials he'll go through for the Ellsberg break-in, where they tried to get information on Ellsberg for
Right.
his role in the cover-up, claiming he doesn't have a criminal intent. Well, he's wrong. A criminal intent, he confuses motive with intent. If you intend to do something like reach out and open the door, you have the intent to open the door. If you open the door because you want to get out of the room to go see a friend, that's irrelevant. The motive doesn't count. It can be a noble reason, in fact, and that's what Ehrlichman argued to the jury, all these juries, and they did. And of course, the judge instructed, "Sorry, this isn't the law.
Yeah.
It's what you intend to do, and if you have a criminal intent, you have the necessary frame of mind to be criminally prosecuted." Anyway, nobody plans to get involved in criminal conduct. By the time I'm dealing with Nixon, I'm also trying to convince my colleagues that we're only making this worse, and we've got to figure out it's not going to work. that these guys are demanding money now.
Right.
That's when it became clear to me that there was a quid pro quo and that we're obstructing justice. I'm walking around in my back pocket with copies of the code to show them if they want to debate it, and they don't want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it. Anyway, after Nixon calls and I start dealing with him, at first I don't know how much he knows or does not know. He's the leader of the Western world,
Right.
and you don't go in and say, "How smart are you about these things, Mr. President?" You just sort of go with the gist, and we're really not only just talking about Watergate, but a lot of other things. He's trying to figure out who I am, and I'm trying to figure out who he is. And I realize he does not know a lot of the details. Um, and so after about 4 or 5 meetings, I think he's listening to me. He's interested in what I have to say. He's just not passing out orders, do this, do that. So I decide it's time to educate him. I had been giving him increasing tidbits. For example, I tell him on March I think March 15th or somewhere around middle of March, about the 15th, I think it was, that the men involved in the Ellsberg investigation were the same ones as those involved in Watergate, and that Ehrlichman had ordered them to break into Daniel Ellsberg's psychiatrist's office. And he's surprised. He doesn't know this. And this is the whole thing is driving the cover up, if you will, at the White House level. And he'll later claim John Ehrlichman will say, I told him many, many months earlier in July of that. He doesn't remember it, and it just happens. Ehrlichman said, this is after we all know there's a taping system. He happened to tell him when they were walking down the beach. So there was obviously no recording of the conversation.